What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Eternal Fruit episode. As always, your favorite host, Alex and
Adriana.
And today we got a very special episode because we requested and asked, and he was one of two people, right?
Yeah, something like that. Something like
200, I meant, my bad, 200. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we brought on my good friend, Jesse.
What's up, man?
What to do, man?
How are you?
Good. How you feeling?
Feel good, man. It's something different than what I normally do, but it's a very good opportunity and a good experience. So far, we've been laughing it up, having a good time. So
That's right. First time you said it right on the mic.
first time on the well, no, not first time on the mic, because I used to do a little bit of TikTok and YouTube. So not the first time on the mic, but the first time being interviewed.
We'll link his socials, by the way.
Yep. So you guys make sure to go follow because he said he's gonna start up his YouTube again. So
Yeah,
we can't say what content. Just go subscribe and follow.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was kind of like I guess a small little kick, so I can kind of get back into it.
Like a motivation type thing.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good. That's awesome, man. So I think you had asked something.
Oh yeah. So we were kind of talking about it off camera, and we just wanted to jump right in and just ask you, like, how did you come to meeting God?
So like I had mentioned before, I normally pray every morning and every night, and I've always believed that God's always with me. And that's how, I guess I was raised in a way that we always, my family always said, hey, God's always with you, and, persínate antes de irte a la casa, same thing before you go to bed. And I always felt like I was kind of like brought to the world to kind of make a difference. And at first, when I was in school, I wanted to, be a doctor, and I wanted to help people, and which I still help people with the job I do now. But I feel like I'm meant for a little bit something bigger. And it's kind of slowly transitioned. And I started, like, the older I got, I guess I kind of started, like, the wheel started turning on my head, and I started learning, like, okay, I can do this. And I started realizing there's more ways to help people, and there's more ways for me to kind of find my purpose or be the person I'm supposed to become in the world. Because I feel like it's like how David Goggins says, I don't know if you ever heard this, but he says that he believes that whenever we die, you go up to heaven and God's there, and he says, hey, you are this person. And then, hopefully what you hear is, you did all the goals, all the dreams you wanted, and you respond back and you say, oh yeah, that's me. But what you don't want is, how David Goggins says, you don't want to go and, God tells you, hey, you were supposed to be this person, and do all this, but you never did it.
You never did it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because recently I've been seeing this parable a lot where it's God gives one person, like, it's Jesus talking. He gives one person, like, one thing to, like, multiply it, and then the next person he gives him two to multiply, and three. And so the one he gave one to, he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep it to myself, and I'm never gonna do anything with it. And God was like, that's not why I gave it to you. Like, you're supposed to multiply it. And he's really been like telling me that, to where I'm like, man, like, what am I not doing? What am I not multiplying?
Yeah, because he stashed it so that he didn't lose any of it.
Oh, I think I've heard this.
The other people went and basically, in other terms, like, they invested and they multiplied it.
Isn't this a story, right? I think
yes,
I've heard it
parable.
before.
Yeah, a parable.
I've heard it before that, like, he gave him, was it money or not money? What was it?
Yeah, so it was like an owner gave it to his servants.
Yes.
To, like, take care of it for him. And instead of multiplying it, everybody else multiplied it except for the person that got one. He was like, here you go. The time came to where the owner had asked for it back, and the servant was like, oh, like, here you go. Like, here's what you asked. Yeah, he's like, well, why didn't you multiply? He's like, oh, I just hit it. He's like, foolish, man. Like, you were supposed to multiply it. That's not why I gave it to you.
That's why they say, like, a lot of millionaires, or no, how does it go? Like, the place with the most millionaires is, like, the cemetery, because That's where a lot of
That's where the dreams go to die.
Exactly.
That is correct, my friend.
You know? So it's good, especially at such a young age, that you realize, like, I'm called for more, but not in a selfish way.
Yeah.
You're just doing, like, I'm called for more because I want to help others.
Yeah, and I know sometimes I get a little misconstrued because people think like, oh, you know, he wants a lot of money, and I mean, we all like nice things. Let's be sincere, right? But everybody's always, you know, most people automatically think, oh, it's for the cars, the clothes, the jewelry, and all that stuff. And I don't care what they say about me or whatever, but I tell like my family, like my wife, I tell them, it's not about that. It's about buying back time. Being able to spend time with my family, with you, my son, and not being able to say, hey, let's go do this, and be like, oh, I can't, I work tomorrow, or I this or that. And I'm buying back time. And not only that, like sometimes I see these people, you know, people you see out in the streets all the time, and you see them with you see them on, on 45 all the time. You see the lady with her son strapped in front of her selling flowers, and me personally, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if I had the power and I had the money like I really want to, and I know that I will one day have it, I would tell that lady, hey, you want an opportunity, I'll give it to you. Because, you know, whether you know it or not, you may think you're having a hard time, but there's someone having a gazillion time worse than you.
Talk about it, bro.
And to me, that's how I guess it's like Steve Harvey says, God puts these ideas and these images in your brain so you can put them to life. Kind of like what you just said, you know, the parable. He gave them something and he didn't multiply it. And I feel like I'm giving something in my head and an image, and I want to multiply it because I can do it. I'm a highly capable person that I know I can do it. Yeah. And, you know, if you have people that like are behind you, because everybody needs help. You can't do everything on your own. That is a false statement.
I agree.
You know, everybody always needs help, but of course, you got to have it in you first. And I know that, you know, God always tells me, hey, you can do this. It's gonna be hard, but I'm putting everybody in your corner so you can do it, so they can help you push through. You know.
Yeah, that's why a lot of like entrepreneurs emphasize so much on being able to delegate things to other people. Yeah. Because you got to build a team in order for like your system to function and work.
Yeah, because you can't be in 1,000 places.
Yeah.
You're one person.
You know, you can't help 1,000 people at
just,
once, you know?
Yeah, you just can't.
Exactly. Man. And I think it's cool that you mentioned that because, like I said, off camera, we were having the conversation about how you always knew ever since you were little that you were meant for something big. And finally God, like, revealed to you that it was to be the first millionaire or billionaire in your family. And you were like, it's not really about that. It's about the legacy that I want to leave behind.
Yeah, it's like, you know, this is something I normally don't tell many people, but I feel like it's good to say this right now. I don't know about y'all, but death scares me. You don't know what happens. You don't know, you know, everybody's always afraid of the unknown. But more of that because, you know, that's kind of like, it's the end and you don't know when it is, which also it's what makes life so beautiful at the same time, because you don't know if it can be tomorrow, it could be today, it could be 100 years from now, hopefully. But you just don't know,
bro.
You know?
130?
I mean, hey.
Be like this.
Okay. I'm already there, man.
Not even. I'm being embarrassed all day, bro.
Hey, believe it or not, but with all the technology they have nowadays, almost everybody can live to 100.
Yeah.
So think about it. By the time we get to another 10 years, who knows what else they'll come up with.
Did you see the guy that got a heart transplant? It was like pure like robotic.
Yeah.
No way.
I was like, what? Yeah, it randomly
we got
popped
a real
up on my
Iron
feed.
Man out here, bro.
Yeah, legit.
You're right. He just needs the brains.
And Jarvis, he needs Jarvis.
For real.
Little slide up.
For real. Sorry, I cut you off with a joke, but
yeah. So what was the question again?
No, you were talking about how death scares you.
Oh yes. So, you know, it scares me because you really don't know. And now that I'm getting a little older, as crazy as that might sound, which I still feel like I'm 19, you know, still living life, right? Yeah. But you get old and you see a lot of your loved ones kind of like die, right? So I started thinking, I was like, man, you know, I'm not going to be here forever, but I want to do something that's worthwhile. Some people that can, when they hear my story, they say, man, that guy did all that? How? Why? Like, that's something that it's going to stay here forever. Kind of like, you know, Marcus Aurelius, you know, he has those meditations. You've ever read the book? I want to read it, but I've heard a lot of like quotes about it. But he says, you know, he had a servant and he would always tell him, you're just a man. You're just a man. And that man, just a man, became one of the greatest emperors that, you know, ever lived.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dang.
And I think it's cool that you mentioned that, because it really is. Like, if God's going to bless you with that much money, or, like, I mean, power, because in this world, money is power.
Yeah.
You have to learn to, like, handle it correctly and not let it destroy you. And with that comes being humble. And the servant telling him, you're just a man, is what kept him humble. Like, not letting that power get to you. And I feel like, again, we were talking off camera, but how you were saying that at one point, like, you were broke and you couldn't, like, you know, you just didn't know how to get out of it. And I always tell Alex this, I'm like, sometimes you're in that rut or in that constant battle because God is trying to teach you of what, like, could happen. And not just that, but help you teach others through that of, like, hey, man, I was here, but look at where I'm at now. You can do it as well.
You know what? And it's funny that you brought that back up. So kind of circling back to the first question, how do you know that God's with you, and how do you started believing more in God? So back to 2020, let's see, 2020, was it COVID? COVID, yeah. So COVID was 2020. So 2021, I had finished a long-term relationship, didn't go the way I expected. And it was tough on me. It really was. And every day, man, I would pray to God and I would say, hey, I want to meet someone that, is, the most beautiful woman in the world for me, and that everywhere I go, I get compliments and telling me, man, she's very beautiful, and I want her to be like this and like this and like this. And I would pray, man. And it wasn't about maybe a year later, I started getting, back on my feet. You were able to work after COVID, so I was trying to get work and, walk and go places and stuff like that, because you couldn't
live a normal life again.
Live a normal life again,
quote unquote,
because you still have to like wear a mask and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I met my wife, and when I met her, she was as if God had like put her in front of me and said, "Hey, this is what you asked for." Here you go. Yeah. And now, as I started dating her and I got to know her better, I was like, wow, this is what I asked for. Mm-hmm. I was like, man. And it wasn't, but I think probably a year later, I told my parents, I was like, hey, I want to get married to her. I love her. I want to get married to her. And my mom and dad looked at me and they're like, okay.
¿Estás loco? Nah.
They're like, really? I'm like,
¿Estás seguro?
And I was like, nah, man, no. I'm like, really? I really do. And I sincerely, before, the whole year before that, man, I was like, I'm going to live life. I ain't going to get married. I'm going to focus on me, do my thing. And it literally just came to me when I least expected it, but it came to me the way that I literally wanted. And I was like, wow. I was like, you know what? Okay. So I went with it. Because I was like, God me la puso enfrente, and I'm going to take the opportunity. But here's the funnier part. I've known my wife since I was a kid.
Dang.
And not once, I would see her and everything. My parents and her parents were friends since they were like very young age, like 21 each, Mm-hmm. And my dad was really good friends with their uncle. And we would go to birthday parties together and, through the years. And, I not once was I like, oh, wow, I'm going to ask her out or whatever. But, times change, you start changing. personally, me, myself, you start thinking about girls and stuff like that. And then I went to high school one where she went to high school somewhere else. So I didn't see her for a couple years. But when I think back to it, I'm like, wow, she was in my life my whole time. Mm-hmm. And I never knew it. And if someone would have told me like at 10, I'm like, hey, you're going to get married to that girl right there. So you might want to start having some fun with her now and be friends with her. I would be like, that's crazy. But now that I think about it, it's really cool because I'm like, wow, she was literally the person that I asked God for. And I literally know her since I was a kid.
That's crazy.
Like,
and what I think about that is like, you've known her since you were a kid, but it really comes down to the timing of God. Because what if she would have met you too soon? Maybe you would have ruined it. Yeah. Or maybe she would have ruined it. Yeah. And like, y'all had to meet at a certain time where y'all were both mature, both grown, to where y'all both knew like, hey, this is what I want.
And yeah, and like you say, the timing of it was a lot better. And then I got married to her, and I'm gonna give you basically 3 examples that like kind of stood out to me whenever Alex reached out to me, and he was like, hey, we're gonna talk about this, think about 3 examples. So I sat there for a minute and I was like, I want to give 3 good examples. But first one was that one. I asked for God for my wife, and she gave literally the exact person I asked for. So 2021, I started going out with her. A year later, I got engaged and I got married. And in between all that, I was going to school. I was barely got engaged, and I was we were planning a wedding, and I started doing respiratory therapy. And my wife was actually the one who kind of told me about it. And when she told me about it, I was like, man, this is cool. I was like, I was doing when I was in college the first time, because I graduated with my bachelor's degree. I was doing bachelor's of science in biology. I wanted to go to medical school, and during the whole time I was doing that, I was dating somebody else, and she kind of said, hey, maybe we should do this. And I was like, why not? I'll do it. And I ended up doing it, and I finished. And I got a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I ended up switching my major and my minor up. And like most people that graduate college, you don't use it.
Yep.
So
tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I was like, I went to school for no reason. I was like, I worked and paid off all this money. I was like, and I'm still working at the same place. I was like, man, I wasted my time. So when I ran into her, started going out with her, and she told me, and I asked her what she was doing, and she says, hey, I do respiratory therapy. And I was like, oh, what's that? So she started telling me about it, and I was like, man, that's really cool. And I'm the type of person I don't talk the talk, I walk the walk. So she told me about it. The next day, I like looked it up, signed up, and I remember I told her like, hey, and this was when I was barely going out with her. It was like we were boyfriend and girlfriend, I think, for like 4 or 5 months, and she had barely told me about it. And I was like, hey, I already signed up for school. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I signed up for school to go to respiratory school. Really? I was like, yeah. Oh, wow, that's cool. Like, I just told you about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, it sounded really cool. And I was like, I thought it would be a really good opportunity. So I'll start next semester. She's like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, yeah. So then I kept dating her, and then I got engaged with her. And then we went on our first, like, trip together as, like, a, fiance's trip. And we came back, and I started school. And I started school. And I had a lot of money saved up from like working and all the COVID stuff that happened. So I was getting like unemployment because I had gotten into a little argument over where I worked, and I ended up getting unemployment for like a whole year. So it really worked out for me. And I got into school, and I was paying all my books and everything. And that's when it started to get, like you say, you started going through the trenches there. Paying books, paying school, paying rent for the first time, because I actually moved out with her. And I told I had talked to her parents, and I said, hey, like, me quiero casar con ella, we want to move out. And I wanted to be like respectful, because that's how my parents raised me, and to kind of like show my face to her dad and everything. And I wanted to show him that I was going to always be there for her, be the kind of man that he was for her. So I kind of spoke to them and told them, hey, like, I want to move out with her and everything. And they're like, oh, okay. And, I wanted to ask her, to marry me, and I was hoping it was okay with y'all. And we ended up moving out together. And, it's very, I don't know how to explain it. Very, you could probably now kind of agree with me now that you just got married and living with somebody else, but it's different.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's one thing living with your mom and your dad, and you kind of leave a piece of clothes or whatever there, and a plate, and you're just like, yeah, my mom will get it, whatever. But now when I started living with her, I was trying to be like on my tips and toes, man. I put my dots on the I's and crosses on the T's. I was like, man, I gotta make sure everything's good. So I would just try to do everything I could, and at the same time I was doing school. And then I started working because, I had to pay rent now. I wasn't living at home, so now I had to pay rent. So when I started doing respiratory school, the schedule was normally like Monday through Thursday, sometimes Fridays. The first semester was Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. And I would always get out like around 2 or 3 o'clock. So I would have to like go to school 2 o'clock, and then I would wait till like about 4 and then go to work. The first year I was actually working at Cavender's. And it worked out because I would be able to get in like 4 o'clock, and then I would work like 3 days out of the week, and I was working good. And excuse me. So let me remember back. Yeah. So I was working there, and then I started not make as much money as I was before, and I was like, man, I need to find something else. So I don't know how, but when I started doing YouTube and TikTok, I wanted to train people. And I put a little, what do you call it, a post on Instagram, and I said, hey, like, I'm gonna start training people because I've always liked to exercise, and I'm pretty like intelligent when it comes to exercising and diet and stuff. And I put, hey, I'm gonna start training people. If somebody wants to like get trained, like hit me up, blah blah blah. And y'all probably understand more than anybody when you post something, nobody reaches out but like 2 people, right?
No, man, we get hundreds of.
Yeah, we can't relate, bro.
So like 2 people, and I'm like, okay, well, at least I got 2 people. One of them was actually our friend Lewis, and I started working out with him a little bit. The second person though was Jocelyn. We went to school with Jocelyn. Mm-hmm. And I started training her, and I would go over to her house, and I was like, hey, we're going to work out, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever days you can. And we'll do these workouts, for 30, 40 minutes. She's like, yeah, we'll do that. She said, but just come over to my house because, like, I need you to be there. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I would start going with her, and all of a sudden we've been friends for years, right? So we started talking about, like, work. And I'm like, hey, like, where are you working at now? Blah, blah, blah. She says, I work at a school. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, you're a teacher? She's like, no, I'm not a teacher. I do like an after school program, like ACE. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, cool. She's like, yeah. And she's like, and they kind of offered me a new job somewhere else at another campus at a school in Texas City. But it's far. And I was like, are they paying you more? She's like, yeah, they're paying me more. And I was like, why don't you go? They're paying you more. She's like, well, it's because it's far. And I'm like, okay, but like, is it like a noticeable amount? She's like, yeah, it's like 20, 30 more than what I make. And I'm like,
what are you thinking about?
What are you thinking
That's
about?
Jocelyn, bro. If you see this, hey, I'm sorry. You probably changed. But
chill. That's my friend Jocelyn right there.
She knows it too.
Yeah, but I was like, what are you thinking about, dude? Like, go. And she's like, you know what? You're right. Let me see what's up. So she ended up seeing what's up. She got the job. And a week later, I think she tells me, hey, so I need to hire people. And I was like, okay, what does that have to do with me? I'm like, she said, well, do you want to work? And I was like, I got a job. I was like, what do you need? What do you mean? She said, well, I can get you a job. And it's pretty like easy. Like you don't have to do anything. And you get paid good. And I was like, how good we talking? She's like, well, it'll be like about 20, 25. And I was like, okay. I was like, that sounds pretty good. She's like, well, go ahead and apply, and I'll tell them to hire you. And I'm thinking like, man, I'm going to apply. She's trying to help me out. It's probably not going to go through. I applied. I got hired the next day, bro. And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, I got hired. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, so what are the hours? She said, well, you can come after school. She said, because this is an after school program. I was like, oh, my God, that's perfect. I was like, that means I would get out of my school, and then I'll drive all the way to Texas City, and I'll be there by the time they need me, which was like 4:30, because the school got out at like 3:30. It takes them for an hour for them to get rid of every student and get them in the car or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, that's perfect. And I was like, man, so I'm going to be making more now and I'm going to be working less. I was like, why not? I was like, okay, cool. So I took the job and I told my friend that I was working at Cabinets with, I said, hey, so I obviously lied to her because I didn't want that I was working another job. But I was like, hey, like, you know, school's a little bit more demanding than what I expected. So I'm going to have to just work once or twice a week. I was like, if possible, can I just work the weekends? Because I was working off commission. Obviously, those are the days that you make more money. Mm-hmm. She's like, that's fine. It's okay. Because she knew I always go and I never called in. She's like, yeah, that's cool. Okay, cool. So Monday to Thursday, I was working at the school. And I had fun, and it was very easy, and I make really good money. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had those 2 jobs. So that was the first semester of school. Second semester came around, and the first 2 semesters are normally the hardest because you have to learn like all the ventilator modes. You have to learn about, you know, the lungs and like kind of how everything works. And you kind of learn a little bit more of the anatomy of like just specifically the lungs and how the heart works and everything. So second semester came around and now I'm able to kind of apply for internships. So I'm thinking like, man, I need to start applying because like I want to make sure I have a job, because the first time I went to college, I didn't get no job and I kind of wasted money and my time, more importantly. I was like, so let me see what's up. And my wife was like, yeah, trust me, you're going to have a job no matter what. Trust me. And I was like, and as the most important decision, or one of the most important decisions that you ever make in your life, and you can agree with me, is your wife or the person you marry, husband or wife. So I was like, you know what? She's telling me to just be doing my work and kind of believe it's going to happen. It'll happen. So second semester comes around, I'm doing my thing and I'm studying night and day, man. And I started applying and I ended up getting actually my first internship at the hospital that my wife works in, Methodist. And I got my first internship and then I was like, awesome. I already got my foot in the door. It's good. So now I was working at the hospital with Jocelyn at the Texas City, the elementary school, and at Cavender's. Jeez. And I was like, okay, at least money's coming in. Because, I mean, now I lived on my own with her, and I was like, I have to pay half of the rent because we would split the rent. So I was like, I have to pay half the rent. I can't be like, hey, I ain't got the money. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have money for sure. So now I just got to, work around the time that I got to study. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So I started doing my thing, starting second semester. We started going to clinicals because we have to do clinicals Tuesdays and Thursdays. Started doing clinicals. And, man, the second semester is when I started to kind of be in the trenches. I was starting to sleep like 4 hours, 5 hours a night because I would get home from work and I would, me, go to the gym. I would exercise, and I like to exercise because A, it's good for you, but B, like it's the time that I kind of like I unplug from everything. Yeah. So it's kind of my time to kind of relieve my stress. So I would go to the gym, finish, and then I would come back and either study right after or study like while I was doing cardio on the cardio machine on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that, man, every day, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, and especially before exams. And on top of that, I was working after school. And then I would do clinicals Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I started doing clinicals at another hospital, Memorial Herman. The semester finished off. I was passing everything super good. And they say, hey, so we have a new program. And we noticed that you do very well here. Would you like a job? Would you like an internship? And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, yeah. I was like, that would be good. She's like, well, we would hire you, and we have 2 spots open. She's like, we have another person we want to hire in your class. And she's like, but we want to offer the first one to you. And I was like, I'll take it. Are you sure? It's not too far from your home. Like, you can make it here. And I was like, yeah, it's like 30 minutes. It's doable. Okay, cool. And I obviously asked, I was like, so, what's the requirement? Do I have to come like 2-3 days or just once? They're like, no, you can just come once a week, and that's perfectly fine. But a 12-hour shift. And I was like, oh. Okay, cool.
Never mind.
I was like, cool, that works. So I ended up taking the job too. So now I have 4 jobs. Dang. So that's when it started to get a little hectic because, I mean, every minute of the day was kind of towards something. I had no room for like error in a sense. So like every day was literally the same. I just knew either it was a test day or not a test day, because that's what mattered. So I was working, doing everything, and we had just renewed where we were living at in the apartment complex. We moved in May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, I remember it, last year. So that year, we had moved in May, and then we had barely moved in, then we got engaged, and then May came around again. So in May, we had renewed, and that was my second semester of school. So when we renewed, you don't read the contract. I mean, I was like, my name's on there. Okay, cool. Sign, whatever. So second semester comes around, I'm working 4 jobs, and I'm paying all kinds of stuff. And I'm just thinking like, man, you got Valentine's comes up, and then my birthday came around in March, and then my wife's birthday's in June. So I was spending money like on all kinds of things, and I was just gas, and money was just kind of leaving my pocket before I even saw it. And yeah, I was working 4 jobs, but at the same time, I wasn't getting paid, a lot. And much of them,
like it was only chunks.
It was small chunks, because I would do a little bit of hours. It was either 1 hour, 1 hour one day at one hospital, one day in another hospital, and then like 2 8-hour shifts at Cavender's, and then like 3 3-hour shifts at Texas City High School or middle school or the elementary. So it wasn't like a big amounts of money, but it was just like, it was more money than what I would get doing one job, because I was spread out in multiple ways, because I was making more money in other places. But, I was trying to just squeeze everything I could.
Yeah, it was just consistent
money. And I was actually like trying to make the best out of the opportunities of mainly the hospital, because that's what I was going to...
That was your future.
That was my future. So we started doing, her birthday, and I did not have but like $100 to spend on her. And I felt like crap, because I was like, man, her birthday's already here. I was like, how am I gonna not buy her nothing? It's $100. And I kind of, I'm very like hard on myself. I like to do the best no matter what. And I'm a perfectionist. And a friend of mine told me this. He's like, man, you know what, Jess, you're a perfectionist, man. Did you know that? And I never had thought about it like that, but he's right. And he had $100. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? And I told my mom, like, man, no más traigo $100. Like, what do I do? She's like, just buy her something nice from James Avery. Everybody likes James Avery, and you won't spend much. And I was looking around, and, man, everything I saw was more than 100, like 120.
You lied.
135. I was like, man, my mom lied to me. She lied. So I ended up looking, and I found this cross and earring set that I had, like, I think that's what it was. And I told I guess the salesperson that was helping me, I said, hey, can I see this? And I see this. And she's like, yeah. And I'm sitting there, bro, for like 20 minutes. And the girl's kind of looking at me, and she's like, what are you so indecisive about? And I'm like, honestly, I was like, I only have $100, and like everything's more than $100. And it's my wife's birthday, and I'm not trying to be a charity case. I was like, but I'm just going through a hard time. Like, I've been working 4 jobs. Like, I started telling her my whole...
Like, started breaking down in James Avery.
Started breaking down to James Avery, dude.
She hands him his tissues.
She's like, oh my God. Yeah, they like breaking down, bro. And she looks at me and she says, I'll be right back. And I was like, okay.
Like, security, get him out of here.
She goes to the back, bro. She comes back with their manager, and she says, here, I'm going to give you my discount and a little extra. That way you can get your wife something nice. So I ended up getting like my wife, like almost like it was like $200, $300 worth for like $100. She gave me her discount. Dang. And I remember I walked out of there, and I was like, I had like a little moment where I kind of like cried, because I was like, man, I literally asked God, like, hey, like, help me out, man. Like, I'm trying to get something nice, make it under 100 at least. And like, he helped me out for real.
Yeah.
Like I actually got something nice and I didn't have much. And when I got home, I was like, wow. I was like, he helped me out. I was like, man, I really needed the help because I didn't have much money.
I'm gonna use that, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I got $50 on me, bro.
Yeah, Alex is gonna be like, look, I got $20, so you gotta help me out here.
It's my wife's birthday, my kid's birthday. I don't have kids. Like,
And my dog's birthday.
yeah.
So he's gonna be like, security.
Man, that's crazy.
Man.
All I can really get from that is like the importance of asking for help, because I'm the type that doesn't ask for help, but right there you were like open and you were honest, and that's awesome. That just shows like if you're honest, like God will back you up.
Yeah, and the fact that you like worked, you know, like
Yeah.
you didn't just stay in a place of like, man, you know what, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like you worked all those jobs, you still went to school.
Yeah.
And I think to me that's like I don't know, maybe now you see it, but that's literally trusting God. You know, when you don't see anything happening, you still kept going, you still stayed determined to say, you know what, I have a purpose. Like, no matter what my bank looks like, no matter what this job or that job or school looks like I have a plan and I have a path.
Yeah, and I stuck to it. And you know, that was kind of like the second time I was like, man, you know, because every now and then you kind of, when you're going through it, you're like kind of question, like, man,
Oh man,
is he there? Is he helping me out? Or like, what's going on? Like, what did I do? But I kind of, like you say, you learn. You kind of realize that he puts you through stuff. Like, for example, I always ask him, I want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And he's not going to give it to you, but he's going to put you in the situations so you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I was like, man, now that I went through all that, I'm like, okay, so if I can do all that now, before, I can do so much more now. And I do it because I remember when I was going through that, I would do 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I would wake up, man. I'm like, man, I don't know if you ever had those days where you're like waking up and you just open your eyes and you're like, I'm going back to bed.
Every day.
And you go every day, you go back to bed, right? But I couldn't do that. I had to go to school and I had to go to work, and I was like, man, I got to suck it up, buttercup, and let's go. So that was the second time that happened, and I was like, man, God is there.
Mm-hmm.
Third time, we continue the story of school. I got my wife her gift, and we started going to the matrimony classes. And we grew up in my house. We would go to church, every now and then, not as every Sunday as some people do, but we still believed in God, how we had spoke earlier. And we ended up getting, the marriage classes. Mm-hmm. And the priest there, man, he would always, every time I would go to church there, I would get the message. I would really sit there and I would be like hearing the message, and I would understand it.
Like it would resonate with you.
Resonate with him. And I was like, man, I like coming here. And we started coming like, we had to go every week, because it was a weekly thing to make sure we could get so many, I guess, hours or whatever was necessary so we can get married by church. And every month we would go, and every month we would get our rent. So 1 month, and it already had been like 3-4 months, I have everything automatic. I would just tell my wife, hey, it's this much, just so you know. She'd be like, okay, cool. And I would pay it automatically. And then she would send me, my card would pay, she would send me the money, and then my card would automatically take the payment. Mm-hmm. So I started looking, and I was just curious, because I sat there looking at my statements, and I was like, wow, why does it say 0? And I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm just curious. I was like, have you looked at these statements? She's like, for what? I'm like, for the apartment. She's like, yeah. She's like, it's always, I think at that time we were paying like 1,200, 1,300 or 1,400, somewhere around there. And she's like, yeah. She's like, it's the same amount. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, look, it's 0. She's like, no way. I'm like, yes, look. She's like, oh my God, it's 0. So I had been paying 0 rent already for like 5 months, bro.
What?
What the heck?
5 months.
Wait. So you lived in an apartment
For free.
for free for
free.
5
For
months?
the free ski, bro.
No, not even 5 months. I'm not even done with the story.
Oh, wow.
So this was during the second semester where I didn't have no money. I was struggling through it, and I don't ask for help, and I try to only ask for help when I really, really need it. And at the time, I had just got engaged with my wife too, and I was comfortable saying some things, and at the same time I wasn't.
Yeah.
And money, financial situations, as a man, you never really feel
That's
comfortable.
always touchy, yeah.
It's a touchy subject, so I was just like, nah, I got it. And then inside of me, I'm like, nah, I ain't got it.
I got it.
I ain't got it, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Go do your nails. We're good.
We're good. So I was like, I got this, but I was like, nah, that's just, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And I would literally always say this. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do this, and God's gonna help me do this. So fast forward to 5 months, I'm looking at the statements. There's 0, bro, and I'm like, this cannot be happening. She's like, there's no way we've been charged 0. I was like, you know what? Let me go to my card and look at the charges month to month. There's one charge a month that's going to show up on there. So I look at the charges. Light. I was like,
No
apartment rent. She's like, what? She's like, what do we do? I was like, don't say nothing. I was like, what do you mean, what do we do? She's like, no, but like we gotta say. I'm like, nah, heck no, don't say nothing. I was like, that's their fault. We signed, they signed, they have to review their documents. I was like, it's 0. Oh well. I was like, God's helping us. That's literally what I said. I was like, God's helping us out.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, well then we'll just see how long it goes. I was like, okay, cool. 7-8 months, bro. They barely found out. They emailed me and they said, hey, Mr. Martinez, we kind of noticed that you haven't been paying rent for like 8 months. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. My thing's automatic. I have automatic payment. Yeah. She's like, well, it's because nothing was being charged. And I automatically, real quick, I was like, well, did you check your documents? I mean, we both signed. Both parties signed. Whatever was signed was what agreed. And she's like, yeah, but, and I already said, well, we signed. If not, I can take it to, a lawyer and we can kind of get this situated. Or I can talk to your superiors. And she was like, oh, no, we ain't got to do that. Let me just talk to my superior. So I ended up talking to her, man. They waived the 7-8 months. And they said from here forward, basically was like 4 months left. She's like, you just have to pay. And I was like, cool.
I'll pay it off right now.
So I paid it off, man. And I was like, that's crazy, man. The first one, I got help to buy my wife a gift. Second time around, I had no rent for like 7-8 months, which was honestly, it really helped out because I was able to, pay for books, pay for school, pay for gas. Every now and then had to do like, the grocery shopping because my wife was great. If you're seeing this, thank you so much, babe, for all the help you gave me. But she would help me out a lot, man, with like groceries and like here, when she started finding out that I was kind of really struggling, she would be like, do you need money for gas? Do you need money for food? And I would be like, yeah, like, $20, even when it wasn't enough. And she's like, okay, cool. And when I was doing all that, man, I was like, wow, 7 months, no rent. I was like, it helped out.
Yeah,
it really did.
I think what stood out to me was like the fact that you guys are being blessed without you even knowing you were being blessed. And through that, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I'll ask, like, was there some type of like, obviously you doubt as in like, how am I going to pay? But was there ever a time where it crossed like, God, are you even there?
A little bit. A little bit. Before we started going to the wedding classes, the matrimony classes, because I was going through it, man. I was like, I'm You know me more than Adriana, but I'm always in a good mood. I don't believe in a bad mood. I don't believe in having a bad time. I enjoy doing tough things and going through like the trenches, as people say. So I was enjoying everything. But man, there were some days that they sucked, man. They were so long, and like I was waking up, like specifically on Tuesdays and Thursdays for clinicals, I would wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and my day would be like all the way to like 11:30, 12 sometimes.
Man.
And I would have to wake up the next day, 7 o'clock to go to school again, and I would be like, man. And there was quite a few times, that I would go to school. I'm not sorry, not school. Go to clinicals, 5 a.m. Bro, wake up. Check this out. This is like I said. I tell you some really good stories. 5 a.m. Go to school, go to clinicals, and my clinicals was always like 8, 9, 10 hours. Normally it was around the 10. We could leave early, but our clinical instructor would always leave us a little longer because he would like to teach us, and he actually was really, really good. So we would stay there till like 4:30. So get out at 4:30. Drive from Southwest 59 in Fondren, or 59 in Abyssinet, I'm sorry, all the way to TMC Medical Center, and go do a shift at Methodist, night shift, from 7 to like 12, 1 o'clock. I did that like 2-3 times, and I swear to you, the day was so long. I would be sitting in the metro bus, like... And it was crazy because I would get to my car and my mom would be like, "Estás despierto? Háblame para estar hablando contigo porque si no vas a chocar." And I'm like, "All right, man, I could just call you." And my wife would be like, "Call me when you get out." And I'm like, all right, man. And I would call, and I would be driving, and I would be awake, but man, I would like red light or whatever, or like stop sign. I would like, and I could kind of go back, and I'm like, all right, I'm almost there. And as soon as I would get home, man, shower. I wouldn't even care about eating. Just showering out, bro. And luckily, on the times that I did do that, the next day was class was either canceled, or here's the funny part. The time that I did do that, for some reason, maybe God, once again, either the class was delayed till like 9, 10 o'clock, or the class was completely canceled.
Wow.
To where I could sleep in the next day and then kind of, have the day to myself. But there was some times, man, I would kind of doubt it. And I would be like, man. But then I would go back to, what I asked for before. Mm-hmm. I wanted wisdom. And I got it. I wanted to be healthier. I mean, during all that, I wasn't being healthy. But now, right now, I am. But I learned how far I could push it.
Yeah.
How far I could kind of go and kind of, work on whatever goal I wanted. Mm-hmm. And now I graduated school. I have 2 jobs, thankfully, because I stuck to both internships that I had. And I got 2 jobs. And one of the hospitals that I work at was actually the second hospital I got the internship in. That's where I got my full-time job. And I'm doing a lot better. And now I'm on the goal and the purpose to leave a legacy, as I had talked earlier. And I know that he's there to help me. He's there to help me, and he's kind of putting these ideas in my head to where all I got to do is stay consistent, you believe in him, and more important than anything, I've heard it more than once, but everybody always says, open yourself up and kind of still do the work and everything, but kind of leave it up to him. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of been to the point where, like, you know what, I'm going to do my work. I'm going to bust my butt. Mm-hmm. And like I did in the past, he's going to help me, because he helped me when I was really going through it. So if I go through it now or even more, he's going to help me more, because he knows that I want to fulfill my purpose here.
Exactly. And I think continue with that is like how you first started going to school, where you graduated with kinesiology. He redirected you to put you in a place where he's going to bless you more. So I think it's important, like you said, to really, when you have God, let him lead the way. And if you're going off course to what he wants, he's going to redirect you. And you're going to have to do the hard work that you put in. But with that comes so much gratitude, so much fulfillment, because you know where you're supposed to be. And that's where that peace, that joy comes in, because he has you where he wants you, not where you want to be.
Yeah, and it ties back to, again, like how she said, like, when you did kinesiology, it was when you were with the other girl. And then God blessed you with a girl that you asked him for. She helped you with the career. You went through it. And then now it's a blessing because you have your wife and the job. So, like, it's like God's timing is crazy, bro.
Exactly. I'll say this once, I'll say it again. It's so important to pray for who you're going to marry, because through that, she was able to push you into the direction that God wanted you to be in. Same thing with you. Abby's helping you go where God wants you to be. And that's really the role as, like, the woman in the relationship, is to help and, like, show our husbands. Well, I'm not married, right? But whenever I do have a husband, to like really be there for him and like show him like, hey, like, yeah, it's fine to struggle, but we're not gonna be here forever, because this isn't what God has for us, you know?
That's right. That's why, like, in the Bible they refer to wisdom as she.
That's true.
You know, somebody, when it was a rodeo, they were what's it called? Shining my boots, cleaning my boots.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the lady and my wife and I, we were talking about God and stuff, and then I forgot how it came up, and she was like, you know, speaking about women, and she was like, yeah, why do you think in the Bible wisdom is referred to she and stuff? And I was just like, man, that's true, because I never had, like, stepped back and realized how much wisdom my wife has, you know? So I'll second what she said.
Yeah, it's like going back to, like, when you marry somebody, you're a team. And I've learned that, you know, you're a team, and your wife is the wisdom, and you're kind of the movement or the action behind it. And if you pick somebody correctly, or that God guides you and gives you what you ask for, you're gonna get the right wisdom, and you're just gonna get the direction.
Yeah, and I heard something too from a psychologist, and he said that the relationships that work the most, that work out, like, don't end in divorce, are the relationships where the man sees himself with taking care of the woman that he's going to be with, and the woman sees herself, like, encouraging him and, like, lifting him up, you know? So those are the longest lasting relationships, and that's, like, really good. Even though the psychologist might have not been, like, Christian or godly, it still affirms what God says.
Yeah, it's so good, like, principle, I guess, to live by and understand. Most importantly, you gotta understand that too, because, like you said earlier, like, as a man, you gotta, like, I mean, this is the Bible, like, the man is the head of the marriage, you know, so you have to be able to, like, withstand tough times. And another thing you said that is in, like, scripture is how you enjoyed the tough time, you know, and that's what the Bible says, rejoice through, like, the tough times, because it builds endurance.
Yeah.
And you explained it as well, without quoting, how you said, and now I know that he's with me, and if I have to go through it again or even worse, I still know he's gonna help me and get me through it.
Yeah. That I know that there's light at the other end of the tunnel.
That's right.
Even though sometimes the tunnel seems extremely long, but
never ending.
But there's a light. There's a light.
It's like that plane strip on Fast and Furious. It just never ended.
Never ending.
Eventually it did. You know?
You're right. Man, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciated this conversation. Game. Yeah, and I hope you guys did as well. And I hope this encourages y'all to really, like, see in the small things or in the big things where God is working in your life. And yeah, if you guys want to come on to the podcast. Yeah. We'll gladly talk about anything I want.
But yeah, bro, thank you. you know, it resonated a lot with my life and stuff I'm going through. So I do appreciate you. I know this was God ordained, you know. So anything you want to say, share, last?
Thank you for allowing me to be here. It was a great experience. I kind of enjoyed everything a lot, and I feel it was it felt good. It felt that like it was at the right time, right moment, and I know that we learned a lot from each other, and I hope this message kind of reaches a lot of people and they kind of see that you gotta pay attention to the small things,
Amen.
small details, and everything will be okay, and kind of strive for whatever you want in life, whatever it is. Even how crazy it may sound. I know sometimes I sound crazy, and when I tell my family I want to be the first millionaire and billionaire of the family, they're like, "Está bien, hijito. Está bien, hijito."
Like, sí, hijo. Sí.
But you know, the more I do things, and the more I kind of do like, the school and the work, and I start doing like small things, they kind of see that, oh, you know what, maybe he will do it, or not even them, but like you yourself, because I mean you have to doubt yourself too.
Yeah.
But you know, you kind of. You gotta have to believe it more than anybody.
You gotta be delusional, bro.
Yeah, you kind of like, that's kind of the message I want to leave everybody, is like, whatever you want to do in life, you have to believe it no matter what, how crazy it may sound. And even for me right now, I'm telling myself this, but it's gonna happen. I will do it. I will be it, and I'm gonna change people's lives because I know I can do it. And God's given me the opportunity, the wisdom, the knowledge, and he knows that I can endure the pain and the time that it will take to become this, because he knows that I was one of his sons that will be able to do it, that will make a difference in the world.
Amen, brother.
Amen, man.
So yeah, hold on to that, grasp onto that, and just believe that you can do it and that you will do it, but all in God's timing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like his story, pray for it, leave it in his hands, work. You don't even know that you're walking in the blessing, where you're walking in the blessing, and God is taking care of you every step of the way, bro.
And above anything else, always pray, always believe in God, and always remember, no matter how tight he squeezes, you're going to be just fine. You're going to get out the other side, and always, no matter what, say God is with me.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this if this was a blessing for you guys. So we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.